And at this point, that person has nothing to do with the runaway. So it's very important that people understand that the gentleman's name that was put out there earlier today as somebody that was important for us to talk to, we are not looking for. The only thing that I would say is that I would be happy to talk to that person. I did look for him to say to him, we are not looking for you, and that we wanted to have a conversation related to that. But at this point, I want to make it very clear that there is no reason for anybody to be looking for that person. He is not a wanted, or he is not somebody that we feel we have to talk to related to this incident. So I would be happy to try and answer any questions. Again, we go back to the most important part of this is that the juvenile is with family. Ultimately, it turns out that it was a runaway case, and that's, we know those things happen, and the family's working that out right now.
How far did she get?
So again, some of the details we're working on right now. Ultimately, there was no traveling any place other than possibly in town with a vehicle that we're looking into, but she may have borrowed a family's car, her family's car, and but we're looking into that further.
Where was she found?
Not very far from home. I won't give you an exact address or anything like that, but ultimately through a lot of work, I can't express to you enough how much work goes into something like this. We take every one of these things as if it is a kidnapping, or if it is somebody that is in danger, and we have to make sure we do everything we can to find this person. We held over the midnight shift. The Michigan State Police were helping in this matter. They're the ones that put out the Amber Alert last night. Ultimately, they had people held over. This morning we had 15 deputies getting information as to where they were going to go and what they were going to look for. A lot of things were going on. We were trying to find out anything on social media. We were trying to find out anything from friends, relatives, neighbors, and a lot of activity. Easily hundreds of man hours all in one day were dedicated to the looking for this juvenile because we were afraid for their lives.
Sheriff, what was it about this that made it rise to the level of an Amber Alert? I know they've made some adjustments to the criteria so that these kind of things don't happen. What sounded the alarms on this?
Well, again, the Michigan State Police put out the Amber Alert yesterday because, remember, we work in conjunction with the Michigan State Police in a lot of different areas, and last night they were following up on some information that led them to believe that they needed to put out the Amber Alert. So without being right there next to them and having all that criteria, I can't answer all of that right now, but there was a criteria that was met, and there was a reason in their minds last night to make sure that that was put out, and which is a good thing, because again, the system is in place to make sure that these alerts are put out as fast as possible. And the long story short is the procedures were followed, and there was a reason to put out the Amber Alert. But ultimately, in the end, which is sometimes where we find out everything, is in the end, it turns out that the reason that was there last night is not a reason related to this case. Meaning, we have a runaway who, as far as we can tell, has never met this person that we talked about earlier, has never been in contact with this person, and somehow that person's information was brought to light last night somewhat erroneously.
Poor guy.
Correct. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're here right now, is to make it as clear as we can that there is no reason for anybody to be looking for this man, other than I would like to talk to him to say law enforcement, as a general rule, goes through all the different procedures to make sure that the right information is put out at the right time for the right reasons. And right now, in hindsight, which is sometimes where we learn these things, that information was inaccurate.
Talking about the Amber Alert again, the criteria for issuing an Amber Alert, why wasn't the Amber Alert sent out to everyone in the state? Why not even Grand Rapids, an hour north? Why specifically only in this area?
Yeah, so I have no idea. I did not know that was the case. That's something that we will talk with the Michigan State Police later on to see if they have a reason for that. Again, I don't know that.
The 2011 gray Chrysler four-door that was in the Amber Alert, was that erroneous as well?
That actually turns out to be a vehicle that could be related to the gentleman who was attached to that vehicle, and ultimately that vehicle is not involved at all. So the 2011 Chrysler, there's no reason we want that. The gentleman who was put out as a potential person of interest for law enforcement to talk to regarding the missing 13-year-old, we do not need. We do not need his vehicle. We do not need him. All I'm saying is that if he's watching this, I'd like to talk to you and make it very clear to you with the circumstances related to this case and how your name even was brought up.
Does the 13-year-old understand the ramifications of what happened by her?
I have a pretty good idea that she probably does. Again, you know, there's a lot of people went through a lot today to try and safeguard that person, and to understand the totality of the circumstances, how we were able to locate this person, and all of the activities that this person was involved in while we were looking for them. And right now it appears that they may have known we were looking for them. It's difficult to understand if that person does really know the ramifications, but in the end, we don't have that luxury. When this call comes in, we have to do everything we can to try to find that juvenile and make them safe. And the best news of the day is she's safe.
Is she facing any charges?
So we are looking at potential reasons to talk to the prosecutor's office regarding some of her activities. But again, that would be a longer investigation. And you know, in the end, what we're most happiest about or concerned with is that this has been solved. She is home with her family, and we're going to do everything we can to help her family and her understand that this shouldn't happen again.
When was she reported missing?
On the 29th, about 10 o'clock at night, from what the report indicates.
So why wasn't the Amber Alert issued at that point?
Because the criteria for an Amber Alert was not there. Juveniles, when they are considered a runaway, and the family says, we believe our child has run away, there's an entirely different process. They're put in lien immediately. Any information that would be given that we could use to help any other police agency that comes in contact with that person is put in lien. Area BOLs are put out. The deputies, police officers, or detectives that take those reports follow up on every bit of information they can as soon as they can. And the criteria is that the juvenile is put in lien immediately. It's not put on a desk, it's not waited later on. So all of that was handled the way it's supposed to be. But until it was no longer believed to be a runaway, that's how it was handled. But once it was no longer believed to be a runaway, the Amber Alert went out.
This kind of thing frustrate you?
You know, if we were frustrated with every little thing that doesn't go well in our day, we would go home very upset people on a regular basis. Ultimately, we're just happy that this child is home and that nobody was hurt, and that we would like to make sure that the gentleman who was named as a potential suspect or a person of interest understands that that is not the case. He is not wanted by us, and I would love to talk to him.
Can you provide any further information on how he became a person of interest in this case?
Well, again, working in partnership with the Michigan State Police, there are times where they'll be led to follow up on something, and there are other times that we're following up on something, and we weren't the agency that was doing that follow-up at that time. So again, all of the specifics, and this was in the middle of the night, and those people are not here right now. And we have talked to the Michigan State Police. They've been by our side all day, and it was decided that we would handle this press release because, again, the resources that were put forth in this have basically gone home because they've been up all night.
So the Snapchats she was sending to her mom saying, I'm in a basement, I'm trapped, none of that ever happened.
So I won't discuss any of the information that you may have that is related to this investigation, but what I can tell you is that everything that we are finding is this person was never in danger, this person was never apprehended by anybody, and that this was a sole actor on their own as a runaway juvenile
How were you able to locate the young lady?
through police work.
That's fairly vague.
Good answer.
But
Ultimately, there were a lot of tools being utilized to make sure that every avenue was searched. We had tips also. That was also helpful. There were other people that were giving us information right along. Hope that works.
No adults were in the home where she was or whatever building she was located in?
Yeah, there's no adults involved that we can tell at this point with her running away.
All right, thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. All right. Thanks.
Police were